I used to believe that love was a sanctuary, a place where trust and dreams intertwine like the branches of an ancient oak. My name is David, and I had built a life with Clara that felt as solid as the foundations of a great cathedral. We met in college, drawn together by our shared passion for the outdoors. Our first date was a hike through the rugged trails of the Appalachian Mountains, where we spent hours talking about everything and nothing, our laughter echoing through the trees. We were young, idealistic, and convinced that our love could conquer anything. Fast forward a decade, and I found myself living in a cozy cottage just outside the city. Clara and I had made a life together that many envied. We shared a passion for travel, often planning trips to national parks where we could explore nature together. Clara had a keen eye for photography, and I always found myself captivated by the way she could frame the world through her lens. Those moments, standing side by side as she captured the beauty of the wild, filled me with a sense of profound connection. Yet, like the slow creeping of shadows at dusk, I began to notice subtle changes in Clara. She would spend long hours on her photography, often disappearing into the woods with her camera. At first, I embraced it as a sign of her dedication to her art. I encouraged her to pursue her passion, believing it was important for her to have her own space. But as the weeks turned into months, her absences grew longer, and I found myself wrestling with an uncomfortable feeling. I would often sit in our living room, the soft glow of the lamp illuminating the pages of a book I couldn't focus on. My mind would wander to thoughts of Clara, the way she used to curl up next to me on the couch after a long day, her head resting on my shoulder. I missed that intimacy, that connection. Whenever I brought it up, she would smile and assure me that everything was fine, that she was just in a creative phase. I wanted to believe her, but the gnawing doubt began to take root in my heart. One evening, as I returned from work, I found Clara sitting at the dining table, her laptop open in front of her. She was engrossed in something, and I felt a pang of longing to share my day with her. I set my briefcase down and leaned over to kiss her cheek, but she barely acknowledged me. It was as if I were a ghost wandering through our own home. I shrugged it off, convinced that her mind was simply elsewhere, lost in the world of her photography. But deep down, I sensed a fracture. There was something unspoken, something lurking beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life. I tried to dismiss it, to focus on the love we had built. After all, we had plans, dreams of starting a family, traveling to distant lands, and growing old together. I wanted to protect that vision, to hold on to the belief that we were invincible. Little did I know that the very foundation of my life was beginning to crumble. The signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. I held on to hope, convinced that love could weather any storm. But as the days passed, I could feel the winds shifting, the storm clouds gathering on the horizon, waiting to unleash their fury. And then came the day that would change everything. The day I would discover the truth about Clara and the secrets she had been keeping from me. I was about to learn that the sanctuary I thought we had built was nothing more than a fragile illusion, ready to shatter at the slightest touch. It was an ordinary Saturday morning, the kind where the sun spills golden light across the kitchen counter, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee fills the air. I had planned a day of hiking, something to reconnect with Clara, to remind us of the love and adventure that had once defined us. As I stepped into the kitchen, I noticed Clara's camera bag sitting by the door, and a flicker of irritation danced in my chest. She had mentioned wanting to take photos at the nearby nature reserve, and I had hoped she would want me to join her. I poured myself a cup of coffee and called out to her, but there was no reply. I walked through the house, the silence settling heavily around me. I found her in the living room, her laptop open, and her face illuminated by the screen. She looked up, her expression shifting from surprise to something more guarded. "Hey, I thought you'd be getting ready for our hike," I said, trying to keep my tone light. "Yeah, I was just finishing up some editing," she replied, her voice distant. I could see the images on her screen, pictures of wild animals in their natural habitats. They were stunning, capturing the essence of life in the wilderness, but something felt off. I shrugged it off, thinking it was just the weight of my own insecurities. "Let's go," I urged, attempting to pull her away from the screen. It'll be good for both of us. She hesitated, biting her lip as if contemplating something. I was thinking of going alone today. I really want to catch the sunrise over the lake. A knot tightened in my stomach. Oh, come on, Clara. You don't have to do everything alone. I want to be there with you. She sighed, her eyes darting back to the screen. I just need some time to focus, David. I promise I'll be back early. I felt dismissed, a sense of helplessness creeping in. I watched her pack her bag, and as she slipped on her jacket, I felt a surge of frustration. The way she was avoiding me, the way she was slipping through my fingers, it was suffocating. Fine, I muttered, trying to mask my disappointment, but don't take too long. With that, she was gone, leaving me standing in the empty house, the echo of her footsteps fading away. I tried to distract myself with chores, but my mind raced. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Hours passed, and the sun began to dip low in the sky. I found myself packing the living room, glancing at the clock every few minutes. The light outside turned from bright to dusky, and with each passing moment my anxiety grew. I picked up my phone to text her, but before I could type, I heard the unmistakable sound of her car crunching on the gravel driveway. Relief flooded through me, but it was short-lived. When she walked through the door, a smile danced on her lips, but it didn't reach her eyes. She looked flushed, almost exhilarated, and a part of me felt a flicker of jealousy. I wanted to ask her about her day, about what had made her so animated, but the words caught in my throat. "Did you get some good shots?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Yeah, it was beautiful out there," she replied, her gaze shifting away from me. I stepped closer, my heart racing. "Can I see them?" She hesitated, biting her lip again, and in that moment I felt a sinking feeling in my chest. "Maybe later," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Something inside me snapped. I felt a surge of anger mixed with betrayal. It wasn't just the secrecy, it was the way she was shutting me out. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "Clara, what's going on? You're acting strange." Her eyes widened, and for a brief moment I saw fear flicker across her face. "David, it's nothing. I just need some space." "Space?" I echoed incredulously. "This isn't just about space. You've been distant for weeks. I can't keep pretending everything is okay." I watched as her expression shifted, the walls she had built around her heart starting to crumble. "I didn't mean to," before she could finish. My phone buzzed on the table, breaking. The tension. I glanced down and my blood ran cold. It was a text from an unknown number, but the words were clear. "I saw Clara with him. She's with the photographer again." The world around me spun, and I felt my heart drop into my stomach. I stared at Clara, my mind racing. "Who is he?" I demanded, my voice rising, her face drained of color. "David, wait. Who is he?" I repeated, my voice a harsh whisper. The truth hung in the air, thick and suffocating. I could see the guilt etched on her features, the way her eyes darted away from mine. It was in that moment I understood. I wasn't just losing her, I was losing the very fabric of my life. My heart felt as if it had been ripped from my chest, leaving a gaping wound of betrayal and confusion. "Tell me," I shouted, my voice cracking. "I never wanted you to find out like this," she stammered, tears welling in her eyes. "I slept with him, the wildlife photographer. I'm so sorry." Those words hit me like a punch to the gut. The world around me faded, and I was left standing in the wreckage of our love, the dreams we had built together crumbling to dust. I felt a whirlwind of emotions, rage, sadness, disbelief. How could she? How could she betray everything we had? My mind raced with images of her laughing with him, sharing secrets and stealing moments that were supposed to belong to us. As I stood there, the pain of her betrayal settled in, and I knew that this was just the beginning of a dark journey I never wanted to take. The silence in the room was suffocating, a heavy blanket that crushed any remaining warmth between us. Clara stood there, tears streaming down her cheeks, but I felt no sympathy. All I could feel was the fire of betrayal burning through my veins. I wanted to scream, to lash out, to make her feel the pain she had inflicted on me. "How long has this been going on?" I demanded, my voice low and dangerous. I don't know," she stuttered, her hands trembling at her sides. "It was just one night." "I swear it didn't mean anything, didn't mean anything," I echoed, incredulous. "You think that makes it better? You slept with him, Clara. You chose him over me." I was confused. I didn't know what I wanted. I thought I could separate it all, my photography, my art, my feelings. I didn't want to hurt you. She cried, her voice rising in desperation. Confused, I scoffed, shaking my head in disbelief. You were confused. What about me? What about the life we built together? You just threw it all away for a fling. Her face crumpled and she stepped forward, reaching out as if she could bridge the chasm that had opened between us. David, please, I love you. I never meant for it to happen. It was a mistake, a moment of weakness. A moment of weakness, I spat, feeling the heat of rage surge within me. You didn't just trip and fall, Clara. You jumped off a cliff. You made a choice. I know, she sobbed, her voice breaking. I was wrong and I'm so sorry. I want to make it right. I want us to work through this. But how could I believe her? How could I even look at her without seeing his face? The thought of her with that photographer, laughing and sharing intimate moments, twisted my gut. I felt like a fool for trusting her, for believing that we were invincible. Who is he? I asked again, my voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. His name is Ethan. He's a wildlife photographer I met on one of my shoots. He's charming and he understood me in a way I thought I needed. She admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Charming. I repeated, my blood boiling. So you're saying he's better than me, that you needed him because I wasn't enough? No, that's not what I meant, she cried, desperation clawing at her voice. It wasn't about you not being enough, it was about me. I was lost, David. I didn't know how to express my feelings and I let it all spiral out of control. I took a step back, feeling the weight of her words crash down on me. You let it spiral out of control. You mean you made a conscious choice to cheat on me? I didn't think of it like that. I thought it was just a phase, something I could brush off. I thought I could keep it separate from you, she pleaded, her eyes pleading for understanding. But you can't separate love from betrayal, Clara. You can't just decide that one part of your life doesn't affect another. You shattered my trust. I shouted, every word feeling like a dagger aimed at her heart. I know, she cried, her voice breaking. I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to make it right. Just give me another chance. The desperation in her voice cut through me, but I felt no pity. I had given her countless chances and she had thrown them away. The betrayal felt like a poison coursing through my veins, and I needed an escape from the suffocating reality of our shattered relationship. Anything? What does that even mean? I asked, my tone icy. You think I can just forget this, that we can just go back to how things were? I don't know, she screamed, her frustration boiling over. But I want to try. I want to fix this. We can go to couples therapy, we can talk it out, I'll do whatever it takes. I shook my head, feeling the weight of my anger and sadness crashing down on me. You don't get it. You've broken something that can't be fixed with therapy or empty promises. I don't even know who you are anymore. The words hung in the air, a painful reminder of the chasm that had opened between us. I felt like I was suffocating, trapped in a nightmare of my own making. I had loved her, trusted her, and she had betrayed me in the most profound way possible. David, please, Clara begged, her voice trembling. I love you, I don't want to lose you. But the truth was, I was already losing her. The woman I had built my life with was gone, replaced by a stranger who had made a choice to betray me. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. I need time. I can't just forgive and forget. I turned and walked away, leaving Clara standing there, tears streaming down her face. The door to our shared life felt like it was slamming shut, and I knew that whatever path lay ahead would be filled with pain and uncertainty. As I sat alone in the darkness of our living room, my thoughts spiraled into a chaotic storm. I felt anger coursing through my veins, but alongside it was a strange sense of clarity. I had been wronged, and I would not let this go unpunished. I needed to find a way to make her understand the depth of her betrayal, to show her the consequences of her actions. I didn't just want revenge. I needed it. It was the only thing that could numb the pain and restore a sense of control in my life. As the night wore on, a plan began to form in my mind, one that would ensure that Ethan, the wildlife photographer, would face the consequences of his actions as well. I would make sure he knew the truth about the woman he had stolen away from me. The night was long, filled with restless thoughts and a growing desire for revenge that consumed me. I could hardly sleep, tossing and turning as images of Clara and Ethan danced through my mind like ghosts, taunting me with their betrayal. I felt a strange mixture of anger and resolve, knowing I had to act. I couldn't let Clara's infidelity go unanswered, and I certainly couldn't let Ethan escape unscathed. The next morning, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, my mind racing. I needed to learn more about this photographer, who he was, what he did, and how I could expose him. I opened my laptop and began my search. I typed in his name, Ethan Matthews, and within moments I found a wealth of information. He had a reputation as a talented wildlife photographer, known for capturing stunning images of animals in their natural habitat. His social media was filled with breathtaking photographs, but it was the comments that caught my eye. There were countless women praising his work, expressing admiration for his talent. The thought made my blood boil. How many of them had fallen for his charm? How many lives had he disrupted with his selfish pursuits? I scrolled through his posts, looking for clues that could help me in my plan. I needed to know where he would be next, what shoots he had lined up. As I dug deeper, I discovered that Ethan had a scheduled shoot at a national park just a few hours from our home. He was known for his breathtaking landscape shots and had been invited to capture the migration of a rare bird species. The timing felt almost serendipitous, as if the universe was laying out the perfect opportunity for me to strike. I made a mental note of the location and the date of the shoot. This was my chance to confront him and make sure he understood the impact of his actions. But I needed a plan, a way to ensure that my revenge would be both impactful and undeniable. I couldn't just show up and yell at him. I needed to make him feel the weight of his choices. I spent the next few days meticulously crafting my approach. I considered various options, confronting him directly, sabotaging his equipment, or even creating a scene that would humiliate him. Each idea felt more appealing than the last, but I wanted to strike at the heart of the matter. I needed to make sure Clara knew what I was doing, that I was taking a stand for myself. I decided that I would show up at the national park, disguised as a fellow photographer. I would blend in with the crowd, capturing my own images while keeping an eye on Ethan. I wanted to see him in action, to watch him work and understand the charm that had captivated Clara. But more importantly, I wanted to be ready when the moment was right. I gathered my own photography gear, dusting off my old camera and lenses. I hadn't taken photographs in years, but the thought of reclaiming that part of myself felt empowering. I practiced in the backyard, reacquainting myself with the settings and techniques I had once loved. Each click of the shutter felt like a step toward regaining control over my life, a way to channel my anger into something creative. As the day of the shoot approached, I felt a mix of excitement and dread. I was about to step into a world that had betrayed me, a world where Clara had chosen another man over me. I rehearsed my plan over and over in my mind, envisioning how I would confront Ethan when the time was right. I wanted to ensure that he understood the consequences of his actions, that he would feel the weight of my anger and betrayal. Finally, the day arrived. I packed my camera bag, making sure to include a few essentials I would need for the day. As I drove to the national park, I felt a surge of adrenaline coursing through my veins. This was my chance to reclaim my dignity, to show Clara that I wouldn't be a victim of her choices. I was ready to take action. Upon arriving at the park, I could see other photographers setting up their equipment in anticipation of the migration. I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm and focused. I spotted Ethan in the distance, his camera poised as he adjusted the settings. He looked every bit the part of a charismatic artist, his eyes gleaming with passion for his work. As I set up my own gear, I felt a strange sense of detachment. I was no longer the heartbroken husband. I was a man on a mission. I watched Ethan through the lens of my camera, studying his movements and the way he interacted with the other photographers. He was charming, effortlessly drawing people into his orbit, but I couldn't shake the anger that bubbled beneath the surface. The moment of confrontation was drawing closer, and I needed to be prepared. I began to formulate an idea, a way to expose him in front of everyone to make him feel the humiliation of his actions. I would wait for the right moment, a chance to disrupt his shoot and make him face the consequences of his choices. As the sun began to rise, casting a golden hue over the landscape, I felt my heart race. I was ready to make my move, to ensure that Ethan would understand the impact of his betrayal. I would not let this go unpunished. I would make sure he knew exactly what he had taken from me. With each passing moment, the anticipation built within me. I was no longer just a hurt husband. I was a man ready to reclaim his power, to show the world the truth about the affair that had shattered my life. The day was unfolding beautifully, the sun casting a warm glow across the landscape as I stood among a group of photographers, blending in seamlessly. I adjusted my camera strap, feeling a mix of adrenaline and determination coursing through my veins. I had a clear goal: to confront Ethan Matthews and expose him for the man he truly was. As I watched him work, I couldn't help but feel a surge of anger. He was charming, his laughter ringing out as he interacted with the other photographers. He spoke animatedly about his latest projects, his passion for wildlife evident in every word. I felt a sickening knot in my stomach. This was the man who had stolen my wife, who had shattered my trust. I had to remind him of the consequences of his actions. The migration was set to begin soon, and I knew the moment would be critical. Photographers were positioned along the edge of the lake, eagerly anticipating the arrival of the rare birds. I took a deep breath, reminding myself of the plan I had meticulously crafted. I would wait for the perfect moment to strike. As the first birds took flight, a collective gasp filled the air, and cameras clicked frantically. I turned my lens toward Ethan, capturing him in the moment of his triumph. I wanted to remember the look on his face, the way he reveled in the attention and admiration of others. But beneath that surface, I was preparing for my own moment of reckoning. I moved closer to him, pretending to adjust my equipment. My heart raced as I saw the opportunity approaching. He was so engrossed in the scene before him that he didn't notice me inching closer. I could hear snippets of his conversation with another photographer, the way he boasted about his work, about how he had captured Clara's attention. It was infuriating. Just as the sun reached its zenith, illuminating the landscape in a breathtaking glow, I took my shot. I stepped forward, deliberately bumping into him, causing him to lose his balance. "Oops, sorry about that," I said with a feigned smile, my heart pounding in my chest. Ethan turned, surprise etched on his face. "Who are you?" he asked, his voice laced with mild annoyance. "Just a fellow photographer," I replied, keeping my tone casual. "But I think we need to have a chat, don't you?" His expression shifted, confusion blending with curiosity. "About what?" "About Clara," I said, my voice steady but laced with an edge of menace. "You know, my wife." The realization dawned on his face, and for a brief moment I saw the mask of confidence slip. "I don't think this." "Don't think this is what?" I interrupted, my anger bubbling to the surface. "A conversation about the woman you slept with, the woman you betrayed me with." The other photographers nearby began to take notice, their attention shifting toward our confrontation. I could feel their eyes on us, a mix of intrigue and shock. I wanted to draw them in, to ensure that Ethan felt the weight of his actions in front of an audience. "Look, I didn't mean for it to happen," Ethan stammered, his composure faltering. "It was a mistake." "A mistake?" I echoed, my voice rising. "You don't just sleep with someone's wife and call it a mistake. You made a choice, Ethan. You chose to betray me, to take something that didn't belong to you." He glanced around, clearly uncomfortable with the attention we were drawing. "I think we should talk about this privately," he suggested, his voice dropping to a lower tone. "Why? So you can slink away and pretend this never happened?" I challenged, feeling emboldened by the eyes of the other photographers on us. "No, you're going to face the consequences of your actions. Right here, right now." I stepped closer, my heart racing as I prepared to lay bare the truth. "Clara thought you were special. She thought you understood her, but all you did was use her for your own gain. You're just another man who thought he could charm his way into someone's heart without consequences." Ethan's face flushed with anger, and I could see the tension building within him. "You don't know anything about me." He shot back, but there was an underlying fear in his voice. "Then let's make sure everyone does," I replied, my resolve strengthening. I turned to the other photographers, many of whom were now recording the confrontation. "This man is the reason my marriage fell apart. He thought he could take what was mine without repercussion. The murmurs of disbelief rippled through the crowd, and Ethan's expression shifted from anger to desperation. "David, this isn't the way to handle this," he pleaded, his voice frantic. "You're making a scene." "Good. You deserve to be exposed for what you are," I shot back. "You think you can just walk away from this without any consequences? Not a chance." The tension in the air was palpable, and I could feel the adrenaline coursing through my veins. I had taken control of the situation, forcing Ethan to face the reality he had created. I wanted him to feel the weight of his actions, to understand the pain he had caused. As the confrontation continued, I noticed Clara approaching in the distance, her expression a mix of shock and horror. I could see her hesitation, her fear of what was unfolding. But I didn't care. I needed her to see this to understand the depths of betrayal that had been unleashed. "Clara," I called out, my voice cutting through the tension, "come see what your charming photographer has to say for himself." Her eyes widened, and I could see the panic rising within her. "David, stop!" she shouted, rushing toward us. "This isn't helping anything." "Maybe not for you," I replied, my gaze fixed on Ethan. "But it's time he faces the truth." As Clara reached me, I could see the fear in her eyes. "Please, let's just talk about this," she urged, desperation lacing her voice. "No more talking, Clara. You wanted to keep this a secret, but I'm done being the victim. I'm done letting him get away with this." Ethan stood there, trapped between us, the weight of the situation crashing down on him. I had executed my plan, forcing him to confront the reality of his choices. And as Clara looked between the two of us, I hoped she would finally understand the depth of the betrayal that had shattered our marriage. The crowd began to disperse, some murmuring among themselves, others raising their cameras to capture the moment. I could feel the intensity of the situation, the power of my actions resonating in the air. I had taken a stand, and now it was time to see what consequences would unfold. The confrontation had unfolded like a scene from a drama, raw and unfiltered. I stood there, heart racing, as Clara's wide eyes flickered between Ethan and me. The crowd that had gathered began to disperse, some still whispering about the spectacle they had just witnessed. Ethan looked cornered, his bravado stripped away, and I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. "David, please," Clara pleaded, her voice trembling. "This isn't how we should handle this." "Then tell me how we should handle it, Clara," I shot back, my anger still simmering. "Because I'm done pretending everything is fine. I'm done being the one left in the dark." Ethan shifted uncomfortably, glancing at Clara. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," he muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. "It was a mistake. A mistake." I interrupted, my voice rising again. "You think that's what this is? A simple mistake? You took my wife, Ethan. You took her trust, her love, and you threw it away without a second thought." Clara stepped forward, desperation etched on her face. "David, please, let's just go home and talk about this. We can work through it." But I felt a wall of ice forming around my heart. "Work through it? How do you propose we do that?" "By pretending this never happened. By allowing him to waltz into our lives like nothing is wrong." I turned back to Ethan, my eyes narrowing. "You need to understand the damage you've done. You've disrupted my life, and I refuse to let you walk away without consequences." As I spoke, I felt the weight of my actions settle over me. I had planned this moment meticulously, driven by a desire for revenge, but now I was confronted with the reality of what I had done. I had exposed Ethan, yes, but at what cost? The tension hung heavy in the air, and I could see the uncertainty in Clara's eyes. "David, I know I've hurt you, and I'm so sorry," she said, her voice softening. "But this isn't the way to heal. This is just making things worse." In that moment, I felt a flicker of doubt. Was I truly seeking justice, or had I merely sought to hurt Ethan as he had hurt me? I had thought that exposing him would bring me closure, but all I felt was a gnawing emptiness. Revenge had not filled the void left by betrayal, it had only deepened it. "I need time," I finally said, my voice quieter now. "Time to think about what I want, not just for us, but for myself." Clara nodded, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "I'll wait for you, David. I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back." I turned to Ethan, who stood awkwardly, unsure of what to do next. "You should leave," I said, my voice steady. And don't think you can just come back into our lives. You've done enough damage." He nodded, shame etched on his face as he stepped back, retreating from the scene. I watched him go, a part of me feeling a strange sense of relief. The confrontation was over, but the aftermath loomed large. I had confronted the man who had betrayed me, but now I had to confront the reality of my marriage. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm glow over the park, I turned to Clara. "Let's go home," I said softly. "We need to talk, but not here, not now." The drive home was filled with a heavy silence, each of us lost in our thoughts. I could feel the weight of Clara's gaze on me, her uncertainty palpable. I didn't know what to say, how to bridge the chasm that had opened between us. When we arrived home, I sat at the kitchen table, staring at the remnants of our life together. The photos of our travels adorned the walls, memories, frozen in time. But those memories felt tainted now, and I had no idea how to move forward. "David," Clara said, breaking the silence, "I know I've hurt you and I can't take back what I did, but I want to make it right. I want to fight for us." I looked at her, searching her face for sincerity. "Can we really come back from this?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Can we rebuild what we had?" "I believe we can," she replied, her eyes earnest. "But it's going to take time and effort from both of us. I need to prove to you that I'm committed to making things right." I nodded, feeling a mixture of hope and skepticism. "I need time to process everything," I said, "to figure out if I can trust you again, but I'm willing to try." In that moment, I realized that revenge hadn't brought me the closure I had hoped for. Instead, it had opened the door to a new reality, one where I had to confront my own feelings, my own fears. I would have to decide whether to forgive Clara and rebuild our life together, or to walk away and seek something new. As the night wore on, we began to talk slowly, cautiously, about our feelings, our fears, and our hopes for the future. It was a fragile beginning, but it was a start. I didn't know what lay ahead, but I felt a flicker of determination igniting within me. I was ready to face the truth, ready to explore the complexities of love and trust. The journey of healing wouldn't be easy, but it was one I was willing to take. I had learned that revenge might offer a momentary satisfaction, but true healing required vulnerability, honesty, and a willingness to confront the pain. And as I sat across from Clara, I knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in our lives, one that would require both of us to grow, to learn, and to find a way back to each other. With that thought, I took a deep breath, ready to embrace whatever came next.